All right. Hello and welcome everyone to the Art of Creation show. I am your host, Rebecca Boswell. And here in this show, we are going to look at how choice creates and different possibilities for creating a life and a living that actually can work for you. So today, our special guest is Susanna Mittermaier. She is live streaming to us from Germany, actually from Vienna. And she's a clinical psychologist and also an access consciousness facilitator using the energetic tools together with her traditional background to create all kinds of new possibilities for people all around the world. Susanna, I know you're incredibly busy. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm just finished the first day of foundation class here in Germany. And lots of space showing up. As you say, having these tools is truly creating a life that works for you. Yes. And that's very, very special, especially, in this reality where it tends to be very dramatic rather than pragmatic. That's something I'd like to play with, inviting people to actually create a life that works for them. And yes, as you said, as with what I do as a psychologist, that is very special. And I'm very fortunate to get to invite people to do so, as most people are extremely dramatic in their lives and usually look at what doesn't work and why it doesn't work rather than what else is possible.
Cool. So our episode today is actually the art of being pragmatic. So you're already hinting at that. And so what is that actually in your world? And what is it that you're actually inviting our viewers to who may not have ever had a conversation like this before? To be pragmatic instead of dramatic. What does that look like?
So pragmatic means always choosing and doing what works for you. What most of us have learned to do is looking at what's right, looking at what other people need you to do, need you to be, so that they like you, so you are liked, so that you can connect with them. And that tends to create a sense of not knowing what you want, like not being able to get a sense of what do I truly desire. Because if you lived your life being busy looking at what other people need you to be, that trains your brain. It trains your mind to always going into other people's worlds and knowing very well what other people need, but seldom knowing what you require and desire to be happy, to expand your life. So that's one of the things that I like to invite people to is, what if it doesn't matter what other people think of you? What if that is not your viewpoint, something you try to make valuable? What if it's actually asking, what do I truly desire as my life? Because if you start asking that question, and probably you will not get an answer right away. After many years of being trained to look at what other people need you to do, this is a question that usually doesn't right away give you an answer. You don't need to have an answer right away, but start, okay, so if I truly live the life I desire, wait, I'm going to put away the video because my connection is unstable. Okay. Germany doesn't have so great so I'm in a hotel room right now, so I'm doing my best to get this internet working. So how does it get any better? So if you haven't looked at that question in your life before, it might take a while to get a sense of what that is for you. And I always say, give yourself some time to find out. But if you ask a question, every question opens up the doors to new awarenesses, to new experiences. And if you ask that, you might get a sense of, hey, wait a second. If I would truly live the life I desire, what would I choose right now? What would I go for?
Yeah. So you actually have a book here. There you are. Pragmatic psychology, pragmatic psychology, practical tools for being crazy happy. I think a lot of people just choose crazy. So crazy happy is a cool possibility. And in the book, you actually, towards the beginning of the book, you said, you know, that you had it all wrong. So what's that about? How could you have possibly had it all wrong? You had this great training, you know, you have, you know, a wonderful life, and yet you had it wrong. Can you tell us a little bit about what your aha moment was?
It was actually, you know, when you are a creative person and you always ask for, you know, you're never satisfied, you know what I mean? And you always desire greater and greater and greater and greater. What those kind of people tend to do is to always think that there's something wrong with us. And that's the point of view I had about my life. I always thought that I'm wrong because I'm not like everybody else, because I see different things. I see things differently. And my conclusion was there must be something wrong with me. I'm living a wrong life because I always desired more. I remember I was looking out of the window in my perfect life, perfect career, perfect relationship, everything perfect, except I wasn't happy. So it wasn't perfect at all. And I was always looking around and going, wow, all these people are so satisfied with their lives. Why can't I be satisfied? What's wrong with me? And yes, that that viewpoint just made me look at the wrongness rather than, wait a second, maybe there's something right about me. And well, then I discovered, wait a second, what if that different way of looking at the world is not wrong? What if it's strong? And what if that is actually giving me a treasure box of awareness, of possibilities that I can use for me and for others?
So you started to recognize these things that you were making wrong about you, starting to recognize where there are actually things about you that are strongnesses or things that actually make, you know, that are the gift of you in the world. And that also sounds kind of like what you wrote from a psychological perspective as well in your book. And you talk about how things that are often labeled as disorders, right, or wrong, clinical wrongnesses of people, that those are actually can be superpowers. So you're talking about, you know, people who maybe in life are clinically healthy of mind. And then you're also talking about people who've been told that they are maybe broken or somehow clinically not healthy of mind. And yet, regardless of how anyone has been labeled, what you're saying is that there are possibilities beyond those labels and beyond those judgments, either from people outside in or from ourselves in. So can you talk more about that too?
Yes, of course. So, you know, the viewpoint when you're different is usually there's something wrong with you. If you are something that doesn't fit mediocrity or shows ways of behaving, seeing the world that is not like other people, usually what this reality tends to do is put you in a box of that's not good. And if it's too far away from mediocrity and it's too different, then you might even get a diagnosis for it. And for me, these extreme differences, I could never see them as a wrongness when I was working in mental health. I just saw them as extreme difference. And it's like our point of view creates our reality. If you have the point of view extreme difference is wrong, well, that's probably what's being created. If you see extreme difference and you ask what's right about this, how can I use this, that difference becomes a resource. And every problem suddenly becomes a possibility that can be used to create. And that's, for me, that pragmatic approach to psychology and to therapy, where rather than boxing people into categories, ease our minds to understand what's going on, which we actually don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't add more understanding if you say somebody has depression, somebody has anxiety, somebody's ADHD. It's just a label. It's like this fake, ease of mind. It doesn't change anything. It's just like something that we think, we have to do. And what if we don't? What if we don't have to categorize symptoms or differences into anything? But what if we can ask a question about what is this thing we call depression? What is it really? What is anxiety? What is it really? What is ADHD? What is it really? What's behind it? And what I found with the patients that I worked with is it's extreme brilliance, extreme ways of seeing the world, extreme ways of experiencing the world in an intensity that most of them have no clue how to deal with. And if you give them tools, they know how to deal with it. And suddenly that extreme awareness, that extreme sensitivity or whatever it is becomes a resource, becomes a possibility that they can use to be a gift for themselves and also to be a gift to the world. Because if you look at people who changed our world, just right now, think of Tesla, people who just saw possibilities that others don't, is because they were functioning different. And at their time, at Tesla's time, for example, he was labeled as totally insane. If a doctor would look at him right now, you might see his OCD and Asperger, or whatever diagnosis they would find. And then it doesn't matter. He used his different way of seeing the world as a resource that we now have a great, you use it as a great treasure box with all the inventions that he has. And you don't have to be a Tesla to do that. You can just be you. And you don't have to have a diagnosis to do that. I'm going to do that again. You don't have to have a diagnosis to do that. You can just, discover what is your extreme difference and how can you use it for you in your life.
And so really asking those questions, that's where you're going from the drama of I'm wrong and there's nothing I can do about this and I'm stuck in this box and with this label, or even if it's you've self-diagnosed, or you just, have, symptoms of larger diagnoses in your life for whatever reason, that you can start to kind of be, what I hear you saying is really just starting to be present with what actually is. And starting to ask questions from that place. Like, okay, so in this 10 seconds, this is what I'm aware of. And I have the choice now. I can choose to go into the trauma and the drama and, go totally nuts with it. And what else is possible? Like, could I call someone? Could I go for a walk? Could I write this down? Could I sing at the top of my lungs? Could, is there something that I'd like to create? Is my body requiring some sort of an outlet? So this space that opens up when we recognize that it truly is possible. If there are people watching this and they're like, okay, yeah, maybe, but not for me. What would what are just some very simple ways that they could start to play with this if it's like super crazy for them, or just a little bit farther out of their, their whole life they've been told this is just how you are. How can they just start to, really coming out of that box?
Well, so what we tend to do, I'm going to shut up the video again because I'm not sure how long this is going to work.
Okay.
Sorry. So what we tend to do is buy a lot of lies about ourselves, of who we are not, what we can do, what we're not capable of doing. And all these lies are just inventions, and they try to tell us who we are, which we are not. So most of us have used the lies to not have access to everything we truly are, like the lightness of us, the ease of us, the playfulness of us. And one of the ways of undoing those lies, well, a couple of them, and Rebecca and I have tools that we use from Access Consciousness to undo those lies. And some of them are as easy as realizing those lies are not real and true. And one of the tools that I love to use is interesting point of view. And you go and get the energy of the point of view you have about you. Then you go and say, wow, interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. And for every time you do this, you are realizing that, wait a second, it's actually, I made it real and true, and it's actually not. So you can do it together with us. Just take one of the points of view you have about you, like I am terrible at, I can't do this, I'm anxious, whatever. And just right now ask, wait a second, is this a lie? Just identify it as a lie for now. And then say out loud with us, interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Okay, now do it again. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view. And one more time, interesting point of view, I have this point of view. And now look at that lie again. And notice, is it lighter? Is it heavier? Is it the same? And now do it again. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view. And do this as often, even after the show, do it as often as it's required to change the energy around it, to change that point of view for you to realize, wait a second, it's not even real. I don't have to understand it. I don't have to get why I have this point of view. I don't have to know the origin of that point of view or the cause or the history of it. I can just take that very thing and dissipate and undo it. Cool.
Yeah. So basically everywhere that you're allowing everything around you and all of your thoughts, your feelings and emotions to have power over you, you're actually dissipating all that power and realizing that that's just one point of view among an infinite number of points of view. And that if you actually had choice, which hint, hint, we do, that you could continue to choose that one particular point among all of them. And you could also play with some other ones and see what shows up with that. Cool.
Exactly.
So interesting point of view. And we've talked about that sometimes in some of the other shows too, that is also where we're then being more present and also in allowance of what is occurring and not having to resist and react or align and agree with it. Which again gives us actually the space to be, if you want to say in your own power, or, just not giving it all away to everything else, or being in everyone else's reality is another way we could phrase it. Cool. So you do mention another tool, and you were curious about if we do the clearing statement on this show, and some people do, some people don't. And in your book, you talk about it, and you talk about having a magic wand and being Harry Potter. So would you like to share a little bit about that?
I was very hesitant to use this as a psychologist, but since it created so much change for me, I am using it for clients that I work with as well. It's the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. And since you guys know it from other shows with Rebecca.
Well, sometimes. It depends if they've seen them all.
Well, then watch other shows.
Sometimes it shows up and sometimes it doesn't. So
this would be this would be a thing where you just go, oh, I can watch other shows. And I would highly recommend that, because you will find the clearing statement here. We're not going to explain it here because that would take way too long time. But it's just a tool you can use to undo lies. For example, you can say, oh, so what lies do I have about me that are sticking me? And then you say everything that is, I destroy and uncreate it. And you say the clearing statement, which is right from shorts. It's a great tool to use. It just, again, like the interesting point of view, it dissipates that energy and limitation that doesn't allow you to.
Well, there's obviously a lot of energy on the clearing statement as it's playing with the connection. And for anybody who is interested or wondering about it, there is a website, theclearingstatement.com, and you can go there and find out more about it. And it's just a choice, just another tool you can use if it's fun and light. I first heard it and thought, oh, what is this alien gobbledygook? And things started to change. And just like you said, Susanna, for the longest time, I kind of kept it as a secret tool because it just felt a little too weird for the world, until I realized, you know what, if I have a tool and it works, then I'd like to use it. And if it can work for someone else, it's their choice too. So like you've heard me, viewers, in so many of the different shows, eat the fish, spit out the bones. So, if it works for you, then take it on board. And if it doesn't, you just spit out the bones and find what does work. So I just want to show everybody the book again. So this is Susanna's book, Pragmatic Psychology. And so that tool is in here as well, among a number of other things. It really is, my interesting point of view is it's a fabulous read and available. And there will be a link to it in the show notes. So you can also find Susanna. She has www.susannamittermaier.com. That will also be spelled out for you in the show notes, as well as pragmaticpsychology.com. And is there anything else on the topic of being pragmatic, or is there anything else for the viewers, Susanna, or any other way they can contact you or find you that you would like to share before we close?
Just really quickly, if you create a life that works for you, it might be that other people are not happy with you, because you have more ease than other people are choosing to have. And what if that is not a problem? What if you choosing a life that works for you is an inspiration for others? Yeah. And whether they choose that too is up to them. Yeah. And being happy and having lightness in your life is one of the most pragmatic choices you can make.
Oh, I love it. Happiness as a pragmatic choice. Who knew we could actually choose that? And I mean, how many people have ever had that sense that happiness is not really for them, or that it even exists? Like, what if it actually does exist and you actually can choose it? And like, what would it take for us to choose it to create greater on the planet, right? It's not like if I'm happy, then you have to be miserable. Like, what would it take to actually create a place where happiness wasn't something that was made fun of or shunned or silly, or, just for those of us who are not smart enough to know that we should be sour and serious and upset at everything. So cool. Thank you so much, Susanna, for joining us today. Susanna does also have a YouTube channel. So if you have really enjoyed seeing her beautiful face today, you can see video upon video upon video on her YouTube channel. The link also will be in the show notes. So thank you, Susanna, for joining us today. And all of you viewing, thank you for joining us. As always, we love to have you. And if you like the episode and you haven't yet, please like the show page here, the Art of Creation show on Facebook, and also subscribe to the Art of Creation show on YouTube so you can get access to each show as it comes out. Let us know if you have anything that you would like us to discuss in the future, anyone you'd like to see, any questions, comments, and as always, happy choosing. We'll see you next week. I wonder what we'll discover next. Bye-bye.